Okay, we
We're
are
on?
live.
Okay. Do I need to introduce?
Yeah, we can introduce ourselves, I guess, since it's just the two of us.
Yeah. All right. So this is the Pagan Moms Hangout. I am Tara, also known as LippyWitch, and
And
you
I'm
are
Michelle, and you're on my channel watching this.
nosy
So
asses.
hopefully you know who the hell I am.
Yeah. Anyways, this week we apologize as well for being MIA last month because shit happens. So we're just doing what we were going to discuss last month, this month, and ta-da. So this month we are talking about teens, which Michelle has one. I do not, but he's getting close to being a preteen, and kind of discussing like maybe how she's dealt with certain topics with her child and how I plan to discuss certain topics with my child. And teens, we love teens, don't we?
Oh, yeah, they're wonderful.
All right, so we will jump right in. And mind you, we have a Q&A, I believe should be up, correct?
Yeah, the chat's live, so if you have questions, just post your questions either below or on the side. I think I forget if it's on. You'll see it, and we'll answer your questions.
And we've got like 5 or 6 questions we'll go through. Gemma may join us, but she has recently had a baby, so you know, shit happens. I'm sure she'll be sleeping. That's fine.
I think I would take sleeping, yeah. Especially with a newborn.
And Avalon is also gone at a retreat, so it's just us for now, at least. So let us jump right in with the first question.
The first question is, does anyone have a teen? And were they raised pagan? If not, are you raising your kids in the pagan path while they are young? How would you like it to impact them?
Okay. Well, I do not have a teen. I have a going to be 10-year-old in August. I am not raising him pagan, although it's mainly because he's autistic and doesn't really comprehend the aspect of spirituality. So, you know, if he showed interest, it'd be fine. I am of a parent that a child should have the right to choose their own path. If they're called to be pagan, good on them. If they're called to be a Christian, have fun with that. If they're called to be an atheist, good for you, because I know I was. I was raised this way, and I felt that it was a good thing. They didn't teach me dogmas about shit or any bad jujus or make me biased towards any religion. But they also didn't lie with their experiences in Catholicism, which were fascinating. My mom told me a story that she barked on a nun once, and the nun wasn't very happy about it. Like, okay, cool. What have I not answered? Because I know that was like a multi-question question.
If you're raising your kids in the pagan path, and how would you like the pagan path to impact them? If not, if you are, if not.
Well, he's not, but let's say I have another child and they're not autistic and they can kind of understand spiritual aspects. I would like to try to influence them in being interested, but again, they would have the freedom to choose in the long run what they want to do, but I would show them what I do. And if they resonate with it, good on them. Now, Adrian, one thing that I kind of have incorporated into my paganism, but is also kind of separate, is my tarot cards. Anytime I have a deck, I let him look at it and he'll go through and goes, nope, 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 nope. And then he'll choose one. And apparently that's his card. And it's always fascinating. Like, I think one was like communication or something from like one of the Oracle decks. And I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Well, I was gonna say, do the cards that he picked like resonate with, you know, him or what he's doing that day or whatever?
It seems that way. Because obviously he can't really express his thoughts very well with that, but I feel like it does. And he enjoys it because it's pictures. He understands pictures. So
yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
Well, I have a teenager. She's 16 years old. She was not raised pagan. In fact, she's been raised in a Christian environment since she was 2 years old. She's been in Christian school. She's still in Christian school. she's going to be graduating from a Christian school in 2 years. She was, even though she was raised in a Christian environment at school, and her father was Christian loosely, like he didn't go to church or anything, but he was brought up the same way. I picked a Christian school because I wanted her to be in a private school, not necessarily a religious school. And her dad wanted the Christian part, so it kind of just worked out that way. Mm-hmm. And, you know, as she was growing up, I was very vocal about my beliefs and how different they were from hers and her dad's. And, you know, I always talked about, you know, that's how you believe, this is what I believe. And I would always tell her, you know, everyone's different. Everyone has different beliefs. And, you know, when she was younger, she was very closed-minded, obviously, because she was programmed, so to speak, by the school to believe a certain way. But as she's gotten older, her mind is open more and more and more. And now she's starting to create her own beliefs and
question things more.
Yeah, she's now starting to decide what she really believes and not just what she's been taught. And as far as impacting her, that's mainly why I've always openly talked about my beliefs or my difference in beliefs, because I want her to be able to make her own decisions. You know, she may not necessarily want to follow what I believe, and right now she's not really following the whole Christian thing either. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of in the middle right now of not quite sure. She's still figuring things out, and, you know, it'll take her some time, but, you know, thank goodness, even though she was raised in that environment, she was able to keep an open mind as she got older. Mm-hmm. Because some kids just don't. They just stick with what they were taught, and that's it. So
I do find that kids around this age do start to question around 14, 15, 16. They start questioning faiths that they were possibly raised in. If they were atheists, well, then there's like, okay, cool.
Well, see, when I was her age, I started questioning my atheism, because that's how I was brought up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was brought up and told there's no such thing, and, you know, that's just it. I didn't get much more details than that. So, yeah, when I was around her age, that's when I started thinking about, like, you know, there's got to be something. Well, I don't know what, but it's got to be something.
Teenagers are very inquisitive.
Yes, and I didn't want to be anything like my parents. So if my dad was atheist, then I had to be something else, because I didn't want to be anything like him.
Like when my dad came out as being pagan when I was 14, I was like, oh, nope, can't do that. Nope, not at all. And that's where I like that I was starting to like research and stuff online. I was like, no, not gonna do that.
Exactly.
I always thought I was funny. It's like,
Oh, this is interesting. Our next question. Oh gosh. What are or were your plans for big talks like sex and drugs? Oh, Lord.
Yeah, because remember, people, this is also talking about general stuff as well. Because, you know,
yeah,
I would think being pagans, a lot of pagan parents, I feel, are a little bit more looser with talking about things like this. There's always going to be some conservative mindsets, even in the pagan community, about discussing these. Like, it's like, ooh, that's taboo. I'm like, you're living a taboo spiritual path.
Yeah.
Like, but I think for the most part, most pagan parents are probably fairly open to discussion. Now, again, these are things with Adrian. I don't think he's quite, at least at this point, able to really understand the concept, and I don't think will ever be really an issue. But again, if I'm able to have another child, which we are trying, and the kid comes out more average, I guess you would say, non-autistic, I would make no bones about it. I'd be very frank with them. I know. Yeah. I was raised in a household where we talk about sex at the dinner table.
Wow.
I know. It's totally surprising, is it? No. Probably not. And my dad talked about his experiences being a hippie and trying different drugs. And he did a lot. But he explained, like, if you ever do any of this stuff, and I'm not promoting this, and hope you don't do it, but if you ever do and you feel like you're not in a good environment or you're uncomfortable, whatever, call us up. We want to ask questions. You can come home. And that's even with drinking and stuff. Because, you know, teenagers, a lot of them, they're going to experiment with stuff. I know I did.
I sure did too.
So I was lucky to be raised in that type of a household where taboo subjects were not off limits ever. And I would definitely raise my children that way as well, because I don't think it's fair to make something taboo that is either one, perfectly normal and healthy for people to be doing, the sex part, when you're older, and drugs, if it's made taboo, the issues that go along with it are then also made taboo. And people feel guilty if they find themselves doing something, and maybe find themselves getting addicted to it, and so they hide it instead of trying to get help. It's like, these are the consequences of what will happen if you do XYZ pertaining to sex or pertaining to drugs. And of course, there's other things like pregnancy and, I don't know, driving. there's a bunch of stuff you can talk about at that age range that, in my personal opinion, is quite fascinating to talk about, even as an adult and having gone through all of that stuff. And having worked with teens, most teens are pretty open about discussing all the above and then some.
Yep.
It's like, you should know about that. Why do you know about that? Thank you, internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always like bowled over. I'm like a decade older than some of them they're now 20 at this point. But at that point, I was only like a decade older, and I'm like, no. No, I didn't know about this until I was an adult. But, you know, the internet, like talking about, say, porn, I feel it's a healthy thing to view for people who are growing up, but I also feel that it's important to state that's not real. That is not how real relationships work. Now, if you're using it to do your business, then go for it. But understand it's not something to be preoccupied with, and it's not real.
Yeah.
And emphasize the positive aspects of a real relationship. And, you know, because on average, I would say, and I want to say I've seen this in a study too, but on average, most, like, females at least, have lost their virginity by the time they're 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. I know I did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
Unfortunately. And that's what I was thinking when my daughter was born. Like, it was just starting to be, I mean, it wasn't just starting, but it was getting more popular to be online and be on the internet. And I didn't even think about the impact that was going to have on my child as she grew up. And it had quite a few negative impacts over the years. Mm-hmm. And
that's a big conversation all by itself, internet.
Yeah, I mean, sex, drugs, and internet, like, those are the three.
Fuck the rock and roll now.
But yeah, I mean, when it came to those subjects, though, I just let them kind of develop naturally as she became curious and started asking. I didn't push any information on her. I just waited for her to ask, and I just answered, you know, as age appropriately as I could at the time. But like, when I was younger, I could never imagine talking to my parents about this stuff. It was very, you don't talk about sex. Mm-hmm. Drugs, they would have talked about, because they did plenty. My parents did tons of drugs. So drugs was no problem, but sex, they wouldn't talk about. They wouldn't speak about it. My mom couldn't even give me the talk herself. She had to take me to a therapist and have a therapist do it.
It's a different generation as well.
Yeah. And I remember just sitting there, like, so awkward. Like, why couldn't she just tell me this herself? This is so weird.
It's not that complicated.
Yeah, I know.
I get how it's embarrassing.
And I already knew most of it, so, oh my goodness.
Right. Most of the time, that is the case. I know, I remember my parents tried to tell me, and I ran out of the house. I'm like, nope, not talking about this. Nope. They thought it was funny. I was like, nope, I'm good. But again, like, I grew up in a place where we could talk about whatever we wanted, and particularly quite obnoxious conversations would ensue, but they were healthy conversations. They did point out the good, the bad, and the neutral. the safety aspects of certain things, what kind of harm can come from things. I, oddly enough, like the night I lost my virginity when my dad picked me up, he straight up asked, "Did you lose your virginity?" I'm like, "No."
Wow.
And though he would not have judged me or grounded me, I was still of a teenager. And like, I can't tell him that, especially being a dad. I'm like, ugh. But shortly thereafter, a few months after, I did bring it up. I'm like, "Mom, I want to get on birth control." And of course they weren't happy that I was being sexually active, but they were okay with pursuing birth control because they know I was going to do it regardless if they wanted me to or not. And most kids are going to do it. They're going to find a way. Just be as supportive with healthy educational points like birth control.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was the opposite. She thought if she allowed me to take birth control, that would give me like a free pass to just, do it with everyone, I'm like, no.
No, that's not how that works.
Yeah, I mean, and that topic didn't even come up till I was almost an adult. Like I wasn't even comfortable enough to talk to her about it until I was a little older. But as far as me and my daughter are concerned, we've had all the major talks. She is way too open with me sometimes. Sometimes she tells me things I'm like, okay,
better more than not.
I didn't need to know that. But, I know that she'll come to me if she has an issue with, sex or with drugs. And she's asked me all sorts of questions about drugs, and I have no problem talking to her about it, but I'm not sitting there encouraging it. I say, look, this is what it is. This is why it's bad. You need to stay away from this stuff. And, for the most part, she does. I mean, she's done her experimenting at 6, she's 16. So by now she's, dabbled in a little bit of everything. And, but we're very open. Me and her are very open. And that's one thing I made sure to do, because my mom was never open with me because she was too timid and, didn't want to discuss that kind of stuff. But I want to make sure that, she at least has someone she can come to and talk to.
Right.
As awkward or weird as it may be, or as, I might get
awkward.
I might get freaked out by stuff she's telling me, or I might get like, no, I don't want to know. I want her to know, yes, you can come talk to me. Like, you can tell me these things. And so, like, I think the sex talk, the actual explaining everything, she was probably 11.
That's good that you're
11.
telling her that age, because nowadays kids are boinking way too young. Yes, I said boinking.
Yeah, no, I mean, it came up, she would ask some questions, and that's when, the questions she was asking, I'm like, all right, I need to, like, just tell her, what's up, and make sure she understands what's what, so she's not confused. Because, some kids, she thought when she was like 4 that if you touched another kid's butt, that was having sex. I'm like, no.
I'm sorry, that's really funny.
I know. But I mean, little kids at like 3 or 4, they don't understand. So
it's a good educational moment. Just be like, no, that is
right.
not what that does. Now, what about, because this is also a big topic, periods for the females.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're pagan, that's a little bit more, it's not something to be ashamed of or hide. It's something that makes you a very powerful woman, and potentially you could use it in like spells or rituals. Especially, I know there's a few I've talked to who have young girls who are just starting that their first time they're making it a big like ritual type situation and honoring that first step into womanhood. Because I know back in the day that was common. That was really common.
Yeah.
And then it stopped being common, and it was shamed. Like, we can control that. Sorry, no.
Yeah, I mean, she before she even got it, she knew. I told her all about it. Like, look, this is what it is. This is what it means. Your body is, you're becoming a woman, and it's like a rite of passage. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just part of being a chick. It's just, that's what it is. So it was very casual when she first got her period. Because I remember when I got mine, I was like horrified and like, oh my God, I can't tell anybody, but I have to tell my mom. But oh my God, I was freaking out. Whereas my daughter was like, hey Mom, here, it happened. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, it's like, it was very, because I had already explained the whole thing to her, and I had already told her, like, look, it's not a big deal. But at that time, I was very early in my practice, so I didn't really bring any pagan anything into it, you know. I was still early on in my learning about what, you know, my practice was going to develop into. So, but yeah, I've mentioned that to her before, like, you know, women used to use, you know, menstrual fluid, and she's like, nope, don't care. I don't want to know, you know. And like some of the history behind it, she's really not interested.
It might be when she's older. I think that does tend to happen when we're older, especially when we've had kids and stuff. We get a little bit more connected to it, I feel.
Yeah. Right now it's just an annoyance to her, and it's
an annoyance to a lot of people.
Well, yeah.
I would recommend for anybody who's interested to go to Charlie Says Go channel, and she did a video fairly recently talking about periods and the sacred aspect of it, and I thought it was an excellent video, so go check her out. Anyway, so what's the next question?
Let's see. Are or were you afraid of any of the above discussions? Why or why not? Yes. Terrified.
Well, being I've not really had those, but I don't. Correction, I've had them with not my children.
With other kids?
Sometimes, like in professional settings, when you're working with children, especially like high risk youth, the LGBT community center I worked at, because obviously sex is a big topic there, and other stuff. When I worked with the blind kids, they were telling me stories that made my hair stand on end. I'm like, no. And, you know, those opportunities come up and you have those discussions. I mean, especially at the LGBTQ community center, they showed how to put condoms on using dildos.
Yeah.
Which was fascinating in itself, watching them trying to keep a straight face. I ended up getting hit by one, of course, go figure. You know, it's funny, it's interesting, and you can make fun of what you're doing, and it's a little embarrassing, but as a group doing all that, both genders, transgender, didn't fucking matter. They're learning this is how you properly protect yourself.
Yeah. And that's the problem, is that we shouldn't be embarrassed, or, you know, people shouldn't get all weirded out by that stuff. And, you know, people still do. It sucks. Like, it's just normal. It's just like, it is what it is. Like, whatever. You know? Yeah,
it's like, I have never been a fan of hearing about, like, say, if my parents brought up them having sex, I'm like, I don't want to know that, okay? No. It's just, no. But I'm sure it's just awkward for them to hear, like, if I bring it up about me and my own husband, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's also uncomfortable in a different way listening to teenagers talking about what they're doing. I'm like, if they're 18, I'm a little like, whatever. But even though I was a teenager and did that shit myself, it's still like, ooh, why are you doing that? But I don't say judgy things out loud. I'm like, are you using protection? Do you trust this person? Because don't ever feel the need to be forced to do anything, or like pushed into doing something you're not ready to do. Because, I mean, come on. So many of us females have felt that we needed to do it because it was either expected of us and we weren't ready and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. As a woman, like, we feel, a lot of us at that age feel like, you know, well, if I don't, then maybe they won't like me, or if I don't do that, I won't be keeping up with, you know, these other chicks that have already done X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be the odd man out. Like, it has a lot to do with, like, being accepted and you know, self-esteem, and that's kind of, it's really scary. And,
it is.
And that kind of cycle and that way of thinking repeats itself, because I saw it with, you know, my daughter and her group of friends, and how that all evolved. And it's like, wow, I went through the same thing. Like, you know, as a woman, it sucks having to feel that way. And, you know, Of course, I don't know how young men feel, you know, what they're thinking. Well, I have an idea of what they're thinking at that age. But,
Well, like
I don't know. Not all of them the same, so.
I've worked with teenage boys as well, and I know teenage boys, and whenever I hear that they're refraining from being sexually active, I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Do when you feel you're ready to, but don't be putting out just because you're wanting to get it over with or you think it's expected of you. Shit, I know some who are in their 30s who have never done it because they just didn't feel it was the right time. Like, go for it.
Yeah, it's different for everybody, but like even like when young girls are 16 or even like when I was 14, I was, wanting to date these 18, 19-year-old guys. So, they're expecting something that, I might not necessarily be ready to be giving.
Or even understand at that age. Like,
I didn't get it.
Understand what it is, but grasping the concepts behind the act, it's a lot heavier.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know what all the emotions that were going to come along with it and all the baggage and none of that. And boy, whew. Was I in for a rude awakening? Because, But, it just seems to happen around that age to most girls, like between 14 and 16. That's when they start, either thinking about going in that direction or getting pressured into it or feeling like they have to. Or
that's a big thing to tell both boys and girls. Like, don't feel you need to fall under the pressure of doing things just because either other people are doing it or they're expecting you to do it. Just tell them to F off. If you feel people are trying to push you in a direction you're not comfortable or ready to be in, I mean, if you're ready, you're full-hearted, ready to do it, then go ahead and make sure your partner is full-on ready to do it and understand the consequences and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Teaching our youth positive relationship communication is so important.
Yeah.
They're so not getting it, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, when I was that age, I could not openly communicate about that aspect of my relationship with my boyfriends at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even talk about it with them, but I notice now when I see my daughter and her friends and how this generation interacts in their relationships, they're way more open with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed, at least in my experience with her, they're way more open now. So it's not so weird to talk about it with each other, like with their boyfriend or girlfriend. Like, look,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I wouldn't even say the word sex in front of anybody. I would get all weird. Like, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? It was more.
I get it.
They're more open now than back when I was a teenager. Like, you just didn't talk about it. You just did it, and you didn't speak of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like so stupid. But I mean, they're a lot more open with things they shouldn't be, but they're also a lot more open now with.
I prefer
things
more open than not.
About. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's why reason why I'm glad that even though, like I said, I get told some things by my daughter sometimes that I don't want to know, but I'm just glad I know them. I'm glad she can come to me and, like if she's ever, I've told her, if you're ever in a situation where you feel uncomfortable or you feel like you're being threatened or if it has to do with drugs and you feel like you're being pressured, I don't care what time of night it is. I don't care where you are. I don't care. Just call me. I will come get you right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no questions asked. It's fine. And I've always tell her that, I might be pissed off. I might bitch and complain, but I will always rescue you. So don't be scared to call me or tell me or anything. Because I'll tell you what, I was terrified to open up and ask for help from my parents. There'd be times where I was in situations where all I wanted to do was call my mom to come help me and get me, and I couldn't. And especially with those things, it's like, especially at that age, you still need your parents to kind of, help you along and help get you out of sticky situations when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, because those things stick with you when you know your parents are down to get you from shit like that. That shit sticks with you into
Yeah.
adulthood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
See, oh boy, this is fun. Rebellious teens. Hi. What
Sorry.
is or were your plans on dealing with them?
Well,
Oh boy.
I was a rebellious teen.
You don't
I'm a
say.
rebellious adult. I'm sure that's not obvious at all. You know, I think all kids and teenagers hit a point where they're going to rebel in some way, shape, or form, be it just distancing themselves from their parents, or to the extreme of doing drugs and partying. Again, it's keeping that open dialogue. It's absolutely important to be like, okay, you can hate me right now. I don't care, but you know that this is the shit that'll happen if this continues. The actions you're rebelling with, especially if they're harmful, like if they're going to just lock themselves in their room, play video games, I'd rather that than partying, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I lock myself in my room and still game as an adult. I get it. You need that time.
Yeah.
It's a decompressing time. But again, I'd rather that than them partying and, in essence, whoring around and all that stuff. But, you know.
Yeah. I was way,
You know,
way worse as a kid than my daughter. I mean, I would literally, and this is back when there was no cell phones, and I would take off and, like, you know, tell my parents to go get fucked and, you know, run away for days with random people, and I would be off doing drugs and staying God knows where. They had no clue where I was. But, you know, I rebelled by, you know, running away, you know, fighting with them, doing drugs, because my home life was so, I mean, they would try and control every move I made. Like I've said before, they weren't open with the subjects they needed to be open with me about. I didn't feel comfortable going to them and talking to them about my teenage problems. And, you know, I had a controlling alcoholic father. So those were the reasons why I rebelled. My daughter, on the other hand, she doesn't run away and do stuff like that. But she rebels more with her attitude. Big time.
oh, yeah.
Big time. Big time. I mean, she's disrespectful verbally, but when it comes to things like, you know, getting permission to do something or telling me where she's at and, you know, who she's with and what she's doing, I don't have to worry about that. You know, I'm sure she lies sometimes, you know, all teenagers do. But for the most part, right, but for the most part, I trust her when she leaves the house and she's out with her friends, because she'll text me or call me and be like, hey, we're out doing X, Y, and Z. Can I go and do this, and that? You know, she technically she doesn't have to ask me. She's already out of the house. I don't know what the hell she's doing.
True.
But, you know, she generally gives me that respect, which I really, really appreciate. But, you know, it's at home with the attitude, and she's always right. I'm always wrong. You know.
Oh, I did that all the time.
That's the rebellious crap I get. And even when she knows I'm right and I'm trying to help her with something, she fights me to the end. Has to have the last word. I mean, that's the kind of rebellion I get. And,
you know, it can be so much
I'll
worse.
take that over what I did any day.
Right. And a lot of parents deal with that. I know my parents dealt with me doing that, absolutely. But I always knew, like, I gotta call them. Not to mention, my ass would be grounded if I didn't. So, like,
well, see, mine too, but I didn't care. My mentality when I was a teenager was
never get that way. I was like, I couldn't even sneak out of the house.
my mentality was, what are they going to do? Kill me? Are they going to physically kill me? No. Well, what do I have to lose? I don't care. Unless my parents are willing to go to prison to, you know, actually murder me. You know, and that's pretty much how I thought. And so I figure, well, my own parents aren't going to kill me, so I'm just going to go do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
Of course, I ended up in juvie. I ended up in, you know, programs and hospitals and all sorts of things because I was a dick. But, you know.
I was a dick, but I was a dick at home. So I don't know. I'm not really sure why, other than I think they just instilled at a young age, like, be responsible for yourself, and we're responsible for you. And if you need help, we're there. But if you're going to be an asshat, you're going to be grounded for life. That's about it.
I was perpetually grounded.
Yeah.
They would ground me and it wouldn't work, so they would have to, like, they took the door off the hinges to my bedroom. They would cut the power cords off of everything, and they got creative because just regular punishment never worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just wait for them. Like, you have to sleep sometime, don't you? Okay, well, when you sleeping? Bye. That was bad.
I know one of my family friends saw me smoking as a teenager, and she called my mom. I was like, no! I went home, and she's like, you need to tell me something. I'm like, what? I'll tell you. My dad, he was a chronic smoker. I mean, so shocking of shock, a child's going to smoke a cigarette.
Yep.
But they kept pushing, like, I'm a smoker, and he had tried to quit a bunch of times. It's like, look at the physical shit I have to deal with because of it, and I mean, he died from it last summer, so I mean, you know, the consequences there. But yeah, my ass was grounded for a long time. But I was always scared of being grounded. I'm like, why was I ever that scared over being grounded? I mean,
I wish I was scared of that because.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a jerk. See, when my parents found out I smoked, because my parents both smoked too, when they found out I was smoking, at first they were, I was in trouble because I was really young. I was, 12? And of course I didn't become a regular smoker until I was I think I was 14, which is still freaking young. Oh, no, let's not punish you. Here, let's give you your own ashtray for your bedroom since, that's appropriate. Like, what? I still to this day, I'm thinking, why would you have done that? No.
Other than maybe reverse psychology, but clearly that didn't work.
No, well, they smoked in their house, which is gross. I'm still a smoker to this day, unfortunately, and I don't want that in my house and anywhere near my daughter, and she thinks it's absolutely disgusting. I'm
actually just a social smoker, so maybe on a rare occasion I'll have a cigarette, but overall I don't.
Yeah. I mean, we actually, speaking of teenagers and drugs and stuff, we just made a bet. Because my daughter is, at her age, has now gotten into smoking weed, and she likes to do that, once in a while recreationally with her friends, and I, of course, don't want her to. I want her not to do that until she's an adult. While I don't think it's this huge big deal, I don't want it to affect her school and grades and, that sort of thing. So we actually made a bet yesterday. Shook on it and everything. She said, if you quit smoking cigarettes, I won't touch weed until I'm 18.
Oh.
So now it's on me.
Oh, you're going to be cranky? You were going to be so cranky.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go get the patch and going to have to get on that, pronto, because that's important to me that,
That's a good argument. I like her logic. Smart. Very smart.
Yeah, it was her idea.
Probably too smart at that point. It's like, damn it, I actually have to put in work.
Well, now that she's older, she's always kids don't generally like cigarettes. It's gross, right? And she's always been trying to get me to quit. Hello.
Who? We cannot hear you.
Oh, her microphone's off.
Oh. You can speak.
There we go.
Yay! Welcome.
I just have to go comb my hair.
That's fine. She bounces. She's so funny. And when she gets back, we'll just let her catch up on the questions we've answered, and then we'll finish up with the ones we haven't.
Yeah. Yeah, because the next two get into spirituality and that sort of thing.
Da, da, da.
But
yeah. Any Q&A questions?
Let's see. No, people are being shy today. No questions.
How many viewers we got?
Hold on. I don't want this to play double, or it's gonna. Yeah. All right. It was 3, now it's 0. Those 3 people left.
Like, peace out! Like, Gemma joined.
Everyone likes to watch the recording, which, like, a lot of people watch this after, you know, we do it, the recording. I'm like, damn, you sit and watch the whole hour? Like, I wouldn't want to watch the whole hour. I don't know.
I usually sit and listen to these, so, while I'm doing something else.
But yeah, I really thought, like, when my daughter was a toddler and, you know, young, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, I kept thinking, man, I can't wait till she's a teenager so we could do stuff together and it's gonna be so much fun. And while it is, and it's great that me and her can go out and do stuff and hang out, and like this is the first weekend in forever that she's actually home. She's not like completely out and gone. Like, she's actually home tonight and she's going to be here, which is like a miracle. But, man, I'll take the screaming 2-year-old any day over a teenager. I'm telling you. I would rather.
No, I'll deal with teenagers. I will absolutely deal with teenagers. I have an affinity for teenagers. They seem to love me. Probably because I look like a teenager. And probably act like one myself, so.
See, my daughter doesn't understand that. Like, her friends generally like me. And they're like, your mom's really cool. And she's like, yeah, ew, whatever.
Same with my mom. They're like, oh, we love your mom. I'm like, she's annoying as hell.
Exactly.
Like, where do you think I get it from? Hello?
Yeah, my daughter says, you drive me crazy. You're so annoying. Just me and you here. It's just so, you're so annoying. That's my job.
Like, your breathing annoys me. Stop it.
Your presence is driving me insane.
Gemma.
Baby.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Aww.
I might have to be holding the baby for some of this video.
That is fine with us.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what we've decided is you're going to do catch up, and then we'll finish off with the questions we haven't answered.
Oh, okay.
All right, Michelle, you want to reiterate the
I'll reread them, yeah. We went through number 1, does anyone have a teen? If so, were they raised pagan? If not, would you raise your kids in a pagan path? And then the second question was, what are your big plans for, or your plans for the big talks like sex, drugs, etc.? And are you afraid of those types of discussions? That's what we've talked about so far. And rebellious teens, which plays into most of the sex and drug stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so have you guys talked about it yet?
Oh yeah, we've talked about it. So you get to answer it now.
Okay. Well, I don't have a teen yet. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-week-old. And I'm not raising them as pagan. I'm raising them open-ended. And with the big talks about sex and drugs, I mean, of course, everybody is scared about having those talks, I think. I think it's natural to be scared about having those talks. And I guess I plan to just give them the facts, to tell them, you know, where babies come from. If you have sex without protection, you could get pregnant, you could catch a disease, that kind of thing. And, you know, all the drugs, what they actually do, just educate them about, you know, what ice does, what heroin does, what, you know, even marijuana or cigarettes or alcohol does, and let them make their own decision. And I think with all the facts, most kids would make the right decision. And, yeah. One thing that I read a while ago is this article, it was a blog post, I think, about why I'm buying my daughter a vibrator. And I was like, whoa. And so was my husband. He was like, that is going too far. That's just turning them into a deviant. And I agree, but one thing that I did take from it is that you're teaching girls about their own pleasure and getting in touch with themselves and their own pleasure. So they're looking at themselves as a sexual being and not a sexual object. So they're kind of in touch with that side of themselves rather than, okay, I'm here to please someone else. No, actually, my pleasure is important too. So there's that.
Yeah, there's other ways of going down that road without actually buying.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to do it anyway.
That's what I think.
So we know it.
Well, I mean, that's an important message to teach now, especially nowadays with the kids the way they are. And they're so much more over-sexualized now than like when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, like I used to think that I had to do that or had to like have sex or be sexual with someone because like that was I was supposed to, you know, because I'm a girl and that's my job. Like that's the mentality I had at that age, unfortunately, and I don't want my daughter having, you know, she obviously doesn't have that mentality, but like, you know, it's important to teach, especially, you know, the young girls, like be in, you know, empower yourself, like pretty much, you know, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Not to that extreme, maybe at this age. But you know what I mean? They'll figure it out, you know, if they have the right fundamentals and they're taught the right, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, teach them that masturbation's perfectly healthy. I just don't want to see it. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Privacy in the room or the bathroom. Thank you.
Oh Lord.
Oh, and I think what was the other question? Like rebellious. How would you deal with a rebellious teen?
Yeah. Again, I think it's natural for kids to want to rebel against what their parents raised them and like the values they raise them with and what they teach them. So don't worry about your kids thinking that you're cool. Just be a parent. Don't try to be their friend.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you can't be friendly with your kid. But you need to have that line, kind of like not parent, but student teacher have that line. You can't cross.
It gets hard, like now, like my daughter being 16, she's like still a child, but you know, like a mini adult. So it's really hard to keep that balance. Sometimes I see myself crossing over way too far into the friend zone. And so when I go back to the parent zone, it's, you know, she doesn't listen or we have a conflict or, yeah, it's really hard to keep the proper balance at this age, for me anyway. You know, when she was a toddler or a younger kid, it was, you know, easy. I'm the parent, you're the child, these are the rules, you're going to listen. Like, it was easier.
Now they can talk back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. So what was the next question?
Number 5, is it too late to incorporate paganism into a teen's life if they were not raised in the craft? If so, how would you implement it?
I don't think so. I think spirituality is a constant evolution, and especially with teenagers, they're curious about a lot of things. It's kind of like how toddlers are curious about every physical thing around them. Teenagers are more curious about the things that they can't, like, see or touch. They're like, oh, politics, that's a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
Spirituality, that's a fascinating thing. Like, I know when I was a teenager, I did my own research. I would definitely suggest never trying to, like, put a thumb on any inquisitiveness, because curiosity is great, and research doesn't hurt anybody. Hell, look up Satanism. I don't care. If you're just researching, go for it. And in all honesty, Satanism is pretty harmless if anybody actually knows anything about it.
Yeah.
And if they want to follow along with me, I'll be like, sure, I'll show you what I can. And mind you, I'm not holding a gun to your head. You don't have to continue to do this. I would like you, if you're serious about it, I want you to at least do this X amount of times or for X amount of length of time, so you can really understand the importance of whatever it is we're doing. Say, like, doing a Esbat ritual or something. it's once a month, so they can do it once a month and see if they continue to like it, you know, and teach them what the importance is, what it's about, all the correspondences and stuff like that, and see how much really soaks in, and you can see if they're connecting or not pretty easily. Teenagers are not great liars when it comes to boredom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, like I said earlier, when my daughter was raised in a Christian school, she was 2, that's all she was taught was Christianity, and even though, you know, she heard about my beliefs all her life, that my beliefs were different, now that she's older, she's definitely, it's not too late, she's definitely got her own way of thinking. She's like you said, researching into what she believes now. So she's not necessarily Christian anymore, and doesn't really believe all that stuff. Not necessarily pagan either. Right now she's still, you know, exploring what she believes and, you know, her spiritual beliefs and faith and all that stuff. So it's probably going to be a few years before she really gets a good grip and understanding of her spirituality and her connection with, you know, God or the divine or whatever. But I don't expect her to have all the answers at this age anyway. So
Right.
But if she ever was, you know, when she's curious about what I'm doing, I tell her or explain it to her. If she has questions, I'll answer them, but no pressure. It's, you choose, you know, it's your life. You're going to choose, you know, your own thing. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't think being a teenager is too late to become a pagan or become interested in paganism. That was when I became interested in paganism. And my parents weren't pagan. They just let me be pagan. They let me read the books that I wanted to read and, you know, be off in my room doing meditation and little spells and stuff. And they were fine with it. So if my kids are ever interested in it as well, I'll let them develop and learn about that, and I'll just point them towards some of the books that I read and, you know, hopefully some of the new books that are coming out that are really good, and just point them in the right direction to learn for themselves, because that was how I learned, but still just be there to give them the guidance. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many more books coming out that are directed specifically towards youth and teenagers.
Oh yeah, and some of them are better than some of the ones that we've had in the past.
I know,
not to name any names, but yeah.
You're funny.
Some of the teen books that were around when I was a teen. But it's all right. I mean, it's never bad to read a book, I guess, as long as you have an open mind and you're thinking the whole time that you're reading it, and yeah.
Yeah.
And,
that's the most important thing, I think, to teach a child, is to keep an open mind with whatever. And that bothers me that some, you know, different people and different faiths or different beliefs, like, almost like force it on the kids, and I just couldn't imagine ever doing that with anything, let alone something so personal as spirituality. I just couldn't do that. I don't know.
Right. I know all of our parents' generations pretty much had that kind of upbringing.
Yeah.
40 plus, I would say, in that age range.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do plan to raise my kids to know about environmentalism and things like that I feel go along with paganism and seeing the earth as sacred. So that's really important to me. So yeah, maybe that may or may not evolve into paganism, which it did for me. But yeah.
Yeah.
So excited.
I'm blind and trying to read. And our last question is, it talks about difference of faith. How do you cope with difference of faith with, you know, your teenager, or maybe within your family and dynamic? Yeah.
For me, like my husband, he's atheist. I can understand it. I was atheist at one point. My child is just non-spiritual. He probably could really give 2 fucks what's going on. But again, if we have another child and they are non-autistic, and they choose to go down a path that is unfamiliar to me or John, you know, I'll respect it. I'm like, as long as they truly believe that's the path they want to follow, go for it. They can change their mind later, and probably will be changed later. I don't know too many teens that hold course for very long for too many things, unless they're really passionate about it, and that's perfectly fine. I will try to be as unbiased as possible. Be like, if they go, well, why aren't you following this? Because, and this is my personal reasons, X, Y, Z. But this does not necessarily mean that this will be your experience with the religion or spiritual path. I would definitely tell them to focus more on the spiritual path itself rather than some religion, because I think when you get down to it, religion can be kind of a make it or break it for some people who are trying to find spirituality, especially for teenagers. Though I think that identifying as a certain label, like with a certain church, or say Catholic or Lutheran or Wicca or Satanist or something like that, I think it's easy to identify with the label. Be like, you don't necessarily need a label to follow your spiritual path. You don't need to go to a church to follow the path. You are your own church. As long as what you believe, it's full-hearted, go for it. I may not agree with it, and that's fine. I'm allowed to. But then so are they.
Yeah. Well, yeah, growing up with my daughter, I had a lot of issues because my beliefs were polar opposite from her dad's, and the way she was being raised in this Christian school. And like I said earlier, you know, he wanted the Christian school, I wanted the private school. So I had to, like, you know, we had to meet halfway. Well, there'd be times where she would say, you know, Mom, you're going to hell, or, you know,
That's
you know,
fun.
yeah, and, you know, or I would get, you know, attacked kind of about it, you know, especially when she was younger, and she didn't understand because she was just being programmed, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it was programming, and so it did create quite a bit of, you know, tension when it came to talking about spirituality or religion, or nothing I said, she wouldn't listen to anything I said. If it didn't involve Jesus, she wouldn't listen to me when she was younger. But like I said, now that she's older and she's realized, done her own reading, done her own exploring, she realizes that, you know, everybody's different, everyone has different beliefs, and it's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. And now her beliefs are starting to change, and she's, you know, starting to realize that, you know, this is not really what I believe, this is just what I've been taught. So, you know, I'm thankful that her mind is open, and she's open to learning and open to discovering about herself. But yeah, the difference in faith in my house with her dad and I, it caused so many problems. Yeah, just glad that's over.
Yeah, and with me and John, he just lets me do what I do, and he would do the same thing for any kids that want to follow a path. He just won't be involved, and he's fine with that.
Yeah. I think it's different when you have an atheist and a pagan versus maybe a Christian or a Catholic person and a pagan.
Unless it's
a lot different
atheist, then that's a whole other story.
Well, yeah. But, yeah.
Anyways, Gemma, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I don't have any immediate family members who are Christian anymore. They're all atheists. My parents don't go to church. My husband's parents don't go to church. It's just some members of the extended family who do. So we just have to sort of, I guess, be careful around them, be careful what's said. And, I mean, we went to visit my grandfather once, and we went to church with him, and that was fine. I don't mind it if it's an occasional thing, and, you know, I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't go to church, I'm pagan kind of thing. And as long as it's just once in a while, I don't see the harm. But, yeah. And I even remember when I was a kid being raised Christian, having those concerns that your daughter had, Michelle, of my family members who are not Christian or who don't believe in Jesus. that they are going to hell, and raising it with my grandmother, and she just kind of had to say to me, you know, some people don't believe that, and we believe that we can have a good life without all of that. And yeah, that helped me realize, and that was what helped me grow and mature and start thinking for myself. And I think that's really important, to just be honest if kids do say things like that. And I think now, you know, if there is a God, I don't think he would want me to be tying myself in knots about who's going to hell and who's not. I think he would want me to be happy most of the time. So, yeah, that's not something that I want to raise my kids with at all. So, yeah.
I do have the idea of that. I think anybody who feels like there's one or maybe even many higher powers, it's all one thing called by different names and different faiths. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
Like, it might be the Allah over here. It might be I don't know over here. You know, it's by a different name. But the energy and the end result generally is the same. So it's just like, it's just a different paintbrush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating how you look at people, not just kids and teenagers, but just people in general, how different people's beliefs are all over the world. It's like, like you said, we're supposed to be looking at, you know, the divine, like as a whole. But I mean, there's just so many different ways of, you know, different ways of belief and different ways of worship and spirituality. But the main goal is the same. You know, trying to make that connection and have that, you know, connection or relationship or whatever with the divine. It's just, I've always found it fascinating how there's so many different paths to take to the same place.
Yeah. I also feel like that not to shut out any religion just because that is not one that resonates with you. Always kind of researching other religions or spiritual paths, I feel, is always something that just makes you smarter. It gives you more knowledge, and you might find that you may want to implement something out of that path. Like, I'm an eclectic witch. I implement Hinduism and Buddhism in my path. Those are not pagan. You know?
No, I love me some mala beads. I love to chant on mala beads and pray, you know, have some deep breaths with each mala bead and stuff like that. No, that's not pagan.
Right.
But it's not pagan. I mean,
very similar.
Yeah, strawberry milkshakes aren't pagan. I like to have a strawberry milkshake.
All right. Was there any questions? Because I know we're about to wrap up, I think.
No, people are being shy this month.
How dare you?
Yeah, people are being shy. They're not asking questions.
I know you joined in late, Gemma, but did you have any questions or anything else to add?
No, I'm just looking forward to watching the start of the video and seeing what you guys had to say. Sorry I was late.
Oh, I was like, she's sleeping. That's fine. Yeah, a newborn child tends to take all energy and eat it.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yep.
I'd rather be sleeping too, trust me.
I've been up since 3 a.m., so I'm good to go.
Oh, gosh.
Come on, it's normal for me.
Yep.
All right. Michelle, you got anything to add?
No, just this teenage stuff is fun, I'll tell you what. I miss my baby. I miss my little tiny baby. I really do.
And he's going to be 10, so he's hitting double digits, so he's crawling right up there very soon. And I'm just like, stop it. Stop. Not allowed.
Well, like when my daughter was born, I was young, you know. I was 21 when I had her. And I remember, you know, I'd always hold her and look at her, and I would, excuse me? Don't interrupt.
Oh, she can come join. Come join.
You want to come talk?
No.
No? Okay. I would always look at her when she was a baby and go, I can't wait till she can talk. It's going to be so much fun. Now, I rushed it. I really rushed it. No.
I'm sensing she's watching you like, really, Mom?
Yeah, she's standing right here behind me, or right behind the camera, making faces and trying to make me laugh.
It's okay. We've been making your mom laugh the whole time.
Haley.
I would love to hear her perspective.
I know. She wouldn't. She was too shy.
Aw. Maybe one of these days we can find some of the younger pagans to jump on.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you guys have any ideas for topics for any future months, remember we do these at the end of the month each Saturday. We try to.
Last Saturday? Yeah.
Yeah, last Saturday of every month. Again, April, too much shit was going on. Babies were being had, people were traveling, people were sleeping. Hello. Just a lot of clusterfuck.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if there's any questions we didn't address that pertain to teenagers and all that stuff, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. We'll check it, and so on and so forth, and we hope you enjoyed this. And thank you, Gemma, for arriving late, but you made it. That's all that matters.
Yep.
All right, so that, I think, is it. So we will see you guys next month.
All right.
Peace.
Thanks, guys. Bye.